I wanted to talk a little bit about interest rates because interest rates, I mean, it really drives, real estate and the markets, right? And you hear a lot about interest rates in the news, so I thought it'd be good to kind of kick things off with just going over some numbers. So we're recording this today. It's Thursday, June 17th. So if you're listening to this a few months from now, this all might have changed, but as of right now, the current federal funds rate we have at 4.25% to 4.5%. And it is a range, which is interesting. A lot of people expect it to be a number, right? Like what is the current interest rate? And so I did a little digging on that, and I guess the range gives the Fed some flexibility in the market, and also allows, I guess, banks to kind of lend within that band, right? So I guess there's a window, and then there's something called the effective federal funds rate, and I guess this reflects the actual daily lending rates between banks as reported on a date. I guess so it's a little more specific within that range, and that's at 4.33%. So it appears right now, Fed Chair Jerome Powell will likely not adjust rates in July. That's just the talk. We never know what's going to happen, right? And there's a lot of speculation. I'm sure you hear a lot of it, right? When are interest rates coming down? What's going to happen? And there's just so many variables that go into that. It's really hard to predict that going forward. Um, and the other thing I think is interesting, and I don't know the exact mechanics behind it, but when you hear the effective federal funds rate at 4.33%, I think some people immediately relate, well, that should be my mortgage rate, right? But then that's what the banks are able to lend at, right? And so they need to make their profit. They're not just, lending at, a 0%, gain there, right? Um, and so, yeah, so then to take it a step further, I went and looked at a couple banks here locally, one federal credit union and two other banks to see where the interest rates are right now. For a 30-year, I see one credit union has 5.5% with 2% points. I see another bank 5.875, another one 6.125. Both have around 2% points tacked on. And then the 15-year right now, I got at about 5% with the credit union, 2% points, and the other two banks around 5.1, 5.2. And again, you got those points added on there. And for those listeners who don't know, I'm sure most of you do, a point is just it's a fee paid to the bank, and it's 1% of the loan value. In exchange, you get a lower interest rate. Um, so with all that, James, I'm sure, do you get a lot of questions around interest rates? I mean, that's like the hot topic right now.
Tons. And even I'm very, very involved with my buyer clients when it comes to choosing a rate, choosing a lender, and then reading their financial statements and all that kind of stuff. So all the time. So it's yeah, I think what you said earlier, there's a common misconception when they read in the paper about the rate and the Fed and all this kind of stuff. They think that's their mortgage rate, right? Their
Right.
30-year, whatever. But it's not. It's like you go to if I'm a small mom and pop convenience store owner, I'm gonna go buy my stuff from Costco. It's cheaper there. It's
Right.
wholesale, and I'm gonna mark it up, right? So that's what the banks do. They have to make their margins. So they're borrowing at one rate and then they're lending out to other people at a different rate. And
Mhm.
so, different lenders, different banks will have different rates based on what their business model is. And a lot of people don't know that that rate can actually change within the day itself,
Mm.
based on news and whatnot. And I think what was really um, eye-opening to see over the last few years when the rates like shot up a lot and there was just like a lot of, we were spoiled for a long time. The rates were
Sure.
rock bottom, right? And then when they started to change a lot, um, we started to see the government maybe increase rates, but then we saw banks drop their rates, and it was like opposite
Mm.
and vice versa. And that was like really confusing to people. And the answer, the general answer to that is kind of based on what your local bank or local lender, what their sentiment is and how they feel like they have to respond to whatever the Fed is doing. So bottom line is, I think when consumers at our level, you can't you can't predict things.
Hmm.
You can't gamble and try to see when the rate's going to go high or low. And what you read in the paper or on the internet is it's very convoluted. It's not straightforward, you know. And even when you see rate, like you were reading off some of the advertisements on what the rates are today, I
Hmm.
mean that's like very a bland advertisement. Right, like you said, it comes with paying 2 points as 2% of your loan amount you have to pay up front to get that rate. Also requires a certain credit score,
Hmm.
uh, and then also probably requires a certain amount of down payment. And every borrower is going to have a different setup. So what they read in that advertisement is not what necessarily they're going to get. Um, so I have to basically explain that every single time
Mm.
because people are always misled.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But you know, to and then there's the pre-approval process, right? So that's usually typically before they're coming and seeing somebody like yourself. They're pre-approved, and then they might be misled by thinking whatever is going on during the pre-approval time will hold up later on, right? And that can all change as well, right?
Yep, yep. Things are always the lending world, the rates, they change every day.
Mm,
So it's but there's only so much you can I mean, you can plan for a lot, get pre-approved, get the snapshot, but then know that there's going to be like a range. And especially if you're pushing your limits and like any small fluctuation is going to change your situation, you have to kind of be fluid.
mm,
Um, and if you're pre-approved for way up here for super high, but you're not spending that much, then you don't really have to worry
mm.
about the changes.
Yeah, all good points. And I would say, the target rate for interest rates by the Fed is somewhere around that 2 to 3%. So I wouldn't encourage anybody to buy any more house than they can afford. But the interest rate you get on your 30-year doesn't have to be your interest rate forever, right? There's always refinancing options, and a couple of other options out there. So you're not stuck. And if it's your time to buy, don't buy more than you can afford. But if you need your dream house, purchase your dream house, and you can make those adjustments later, right?
Absolutely. That is really good advice for people. Is as long as it's within your budget
Mm.
and you can afford it, I would say, and if it's a need of yours, if you need a place to live, if you're renting and you could be buying, um, or if you're gonna have a kid and you need more space or something like that, like
Right, right.
get into the home, especially in Hawaii, because who knows when the next available fitting property will come along.
Mm,
And once that rate drops later, we have so many guys on the sidelines that have not
mhm,
yet purchased because they cannot due to high rates.
mm.
And once that rate drops, we're going to see a lot more competition come in. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like stop playing the numbers as much and then like really focus on your needs and then think about the numbers in the long run.
Gotcha. So that's a good.
The opinions and statements presented on this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. Never make any investment or financial decisions based on information offered on this show without first consulting your financial, legal, or tax advisor. All economic and performance information mentioned on the show is historical in nature and is not indicative of any future results. All indices mentioned on this show are unmanaged and cannot be invested in directly. All information is believed to be from reliable sources. However, we make no representation as to its completeness or accuracy. Lastly, all opinions expressed by Jason Cutitta and any guests on the show are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of or are endorsed by ToBA Financial. For Jason Cutitta, investment advisory services are offered through ToBA Financial LLC, a registered investment advisor offering advisory services in the state of Hawaii and in other jurisdictions where exempt from registration.